Hey, welcome back to another episode of Full Count Baseball Podcast. I'm your host, Blaine Arsenal. Excuse me. We have another coaching interview for you, coach interview number 15. We sitting here today with Evangel Christian Academy's head coach, Joey Ford. How's it going, coach?
It's going great, man. How are you, Blaine?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks you for coming on this evening.
Uh, Appreciate you having me on, man. I did a little research on your stuff and all that, and man. I like what you're doing. It's awesome.
I appreciate it, man. Like I tell everybody, we're just trying to put a spotlight on coaches and their programs around the state.
Yep, for sure.
Let's get into it, Coach. Let's talk about your background, where you from, where you played at, where you started coaching, all that good stuff like that.
Yeah, I grew up here in Bossier City. Went to Airline High School, graduated in 2006. After that, went and played a year at Bossier Parish Community College. And then I left there and went and walked on at Louisiana Tech. Played there for 3 years. Ended up having to take a red shirt my first year because of shoulder problems. But started the last 2 years there. Played under Coach Wade Seminoes at West Monroe now. Is doing a great job there. As soon as I got out of school, I joined an academy in town called Extra Innings, where I was a hitting instructor. Did that for about 3 years. Decided that I wanted to kind of get out of a building, get into the high school circuit. So took a job as a hitting and fielding coach at Airline High School. Was there for about 3 years. During our time there, we ended up tying the school wins record with 31. And then once I got done there, I decided I wanted to open my own academy. So I got with a buddy of mine. We started off with one team, built it into about 10 teams. Did that for about 5 years. And then once the kids I had, I started with them whenever they were 8. Once I had gotten those kids to high school, I made a transition to Loyola College Prep here in town with those kids. Coached there for 2 years. I had a lot of success there. And then I just felt like it was time to make a jump, and it was time for me to kind of take the reins of a program and see what I could do after that. So that's it in a nutshell, in a summary. So I've been doing this I think I'm on my 15th year now. I've been in the high
15.
school circuit about 7 years.
Okay, so 7 years in high school. How many of those years have you been a head coach or assistant coach?
This will be the first year as a head coach, and I've been an assistant coach the other 6.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, I was going to talk about it. You jumped right into a storied program such as Evangel with all the rich history in football and I know in baseball as well. How did it go about getting that job?
Yeah, man. The guys here before me, man, they just did an awesome job of getting this program. It's, I remember this program whenever I was in high school back in 2006, even earlier before that. So I got in high school 2002, 2003, and man, Evangel baseball around town they were the real deal. It was a bunch of guys that I grew up with that played here. I know that they were extremely successful on the football field, and I wouldn't say it overshadowed the baseball side of things, but baseball won 5 state championships within the 2000s, the early 2000s, all the way up until I think 2014. And those guys they did an awesome job, and I think with every good thing, everything kind of comes to an end at some point.
Hmm.
Uh, and I think it had kind of gotten to that. And once I saw that the job was available, I joked because I told my wife there were about 2, 3 schools in town that I would ever apply for if they came open, and Evangel was one of them. And, I jumped right in. Interview process was great. Everybody around here has been awesome. I can't complain about anything. It was a very easy transition. So once I saw it was open, I jumped on it, and the rest is history.
Awesome. So take us back to last year at Loyola last season. How was that? And did you know that that would have been your last year?
Yeah, I didn't know. Last year at Loyola was great. We we were young. We had some older guys. That was the second year that we were there, and things really started to click. We actually won District 4A here in town, which was the first year that we were in that district with Northwood, North Dakota, Minden, and it just kind of meshed. It came together. We were clicking offensively, defensively. Pitching was great. The coaching staff there, those guys I've been, ever since I started coaching, I've been around those guys, and they're baseball dudes and they're good at what they do. And, it was fun. It prepared me a lot for this. And we just went out there, we competed and made it to the quarterfinals, which I think is the furthest they've been in a while. So it was a blast being there, being around all those guys and kind of seeing a lot of the kids that I had been working with since they were younger start having success at the high school level.
So I'm sure it was kind of a bittersweet when you decided to leave and take your manager job.
Yeah, man, it really was, called those guys, talked to those guys. It's like, hey, I've been with you since you were 8, 9 years old, but now it's time for me to go do something for myself, for my family. I've gotten you this far, I think you're in great hands, have at it. If you need anything, call me.
I'm kind of glad, excuse me, I'm kind of glad you said that because I'm in a similar boat where I'm at right now. I've been with my group of guys since they was 19 years old, and they all seniors this year. So they all
Yeah.
graduating. So like next year, I'm kind of like in that tweener spot to where do I want to stay or do I want to branch off and try something new? But I understand what you was going to do with that one.
Yeah, man, it is bittersweet. Those kids, they kind of become like your own in a sense. You spend a lot of time with them. You spend more time with them than you do with your own family,
Yeah.
most of the year. But you just got to know that you've done everything that you can. You've equipped them not just on the baseball field, but also off the baseball field. And those lifelong relationships will stay with you forever,
Yeah.
and that's what a lot of this is about. The baseball side of things are great, but I became really close with those families, with those kids, and they still text, call, stay in touch, and it's part of life, part of growing, and part of just turning over a new leaf and hopefully making an impact on someone else.
So take me back, take me back to last fall when you did decide to accept the job at Evangel. What was the first steps you took when you accepted the job?
Yeah, so the first steps that we took was we knew that we needed to establish a culture, based around hard work, based around discipline, accountability, and just being good people. So, man, I don't even know if we took ground balls or anything the first 2 or 3 weeks we had the kids, because it was more or less around let's establish the discipline, let's establish the culture, let's establish the relationship before the baseball. I joke with them. It's kind of like the scene off of Karate Kid where he makes him wax the car 100 times before he even
Yeah.
does a lesson, right?
Mhm.
And that's kind of the approach that we took. Hey, I know you're baseball players. We know you're baseball players, but who are you as people? And the main thing was let's change the person, and that will change the athlete.
Gotcha. So, what was your summer and your fall program look like last year?
Yeah,
I
so
know
the
you.
fall.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I know you kind of like mentioned a little bit, but how did you like start off, basically?
Yeah, so we obviously had a meeting, told everybody, hey, look, these aren't rules, these are standards. This is how we're going to do things. You either buy in or you don't. And you're either on board or you're off board, you're either going with us or you're not. So that was the first thing that we established. And then, man, the biggest thing was, man, we got to get some weight on these kids. You know,
Yeah.
we have a lot of lanky, athletic guys. And so we started with a summer workout program, right? We were getting them in the weight room 3, 4 times a day, trying to put 20, 25 pounds on them. And then we really wanted to hit home on fundamentals as far as the baseball is concerned. Like, I can't tell you how many times the kid asks, "Hey, Coach Joe, will you hit me one to the left or to the right?" And me go, "No, dude, I'm going to hit one at you. And you're going to field that one 99% of the time. And then we'll move on, just
Mm-hmm.
simply because that's the one that beats you, you know?" So
Yeah.
we took baby steps in establishing the fundamentals, the simple things, the weight room, establishing an approach at the plate, establishing what we're trying to accomplish, you know, as far as how fast we want to work. You know, we want to work quick. We want to practice fast. We want the game to be so fast for the other team that they don't even know what's going on, you know, but in turn, it's slow for us,
Gotcha.
you know. So we established all those things in the mindset. Man, just getting back to having fun. Like, you know, I think that as competitors, we overlook that a lot. And one of the biggest things was I wanted to bring joy back to the kids as far as baseball. Man, it's a kids game, you know. We want to have a good time.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And what did your fall look like?
So the fall, once school started, we have the kids every morning during first block, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Because what we can do during that time is what we typically did during that time is we would do our hitting, arm care, and things like that. Then after school, we have them. We would go into our defensive stuff, and then you know, and do some on-field hitting and all that. It was great because we had the weight room afterwards, so we weren't having to lift before, so we would lift after practice. As the fall progressed and we did bullpens and things of that nature, and we built up pitch counts, man, we did a lot of inner squads, a lot of inner squads. These kids need to be put in game type situations. We need we need pressure on them. We need the pitchers to understand, hey, look, we want to attack these guys. We need the hitters to understand, hey, we're attacking the pitcher. You know, so it was a lot of those things during the fall. Just game type situations, and again, just trying to put some weight on them.
Awesome. So when you came in, you looked at the schedule. Did you blow up the schedule or did you keep it and added some games? How was your dynamic making your schedule for the 26th season?
Yeah, majority of it was already set in place, just for prior commitments from the other guys, which was fine. I added a couple of things in there, um, you know, but our district schedule is so, man, it's a grind. You know, you can play, I believe it's like 18 games against 5A competition here in the Bossier Shreveport area, right? So, you know, like any team would do, I guess you could. I wouldn't say like any team would do, but a lot of teams do, is we tried to make the first half of that schedule not easy, not easy, nothing's easy, but lighter than what it was going to be towards the end, because that the last 9 to 10 weeks of the schedule are just a grind.
Mhm. Yeah. So how did I wouldn't pay attention, but how did Evangel finish last season?
They were 9-22.
Eesh. So you got your work cut out for you a little bit.
I do, but I like where we're at.
Yeah.
I like where we're at. I like where the kids are at. Um, I like what we've done. Are we there yet? No. Are we way? Are we better off than when we started? Absolutely. And man, I'm just trying to get them to compete. Like the wins and losses will take care of themselves, but you get out there and compete on a daily basis. Uh, if we can keep our emotions in check with what we have, we can be successful with.
As long as you keep progressing day by day.
Yes.
Uh, any players to look out for in the 26th season off your roster?
Man, I had to figure. I figured you're gonna ask me that.
Yeah.
You know, I think about that all the time. I think about. I told the kids the other day. I think about you more than you know. I'm not going to say anything on that right now. I don't want to put any added pressure on any kid.
Okay.
Uh, we have athletes. We have a lot of young guys that are going to contribute. We have older guys that are contribute. But I wouldn't, as much as I would like for them to have that little chip on their shoulder. I also don't want to put that pressure on them. We'll see what happens. I think we'll have some surprises.
I got you. In your opinion, do you think the kids nowadays are more skilled or they just have more exposure on
That's a tough one. I think that as a whole, I don't think kids are necessarily more skilled as a whole. I think that a lot of the fundamentals are not overlooked, but are not taught because everybody's looking for the wow factor. You know, everything's based off of metrics. Everything's based off of, can you do this? Can you hit a ball this far? Can you run that fast? I think the ball player himself is overlooked. Um, are they bigger, faster, stronger? Maybe, but I played with a lot of guys that were just as big and just as fast and just as strong. I think on the arm side of things, kids are throwing harder. Maybe. I don't know. I think it's just more available because we have social media.
Yeah.
So there might be a kid somewhere throwing 92 to 95, but he's got a camera on him all the time. Opposed to when I was coming up, that same kid was probably throwing 92, 95. Nobody really knew outside of, you know, their area. Scouts might have known and all that, but it just wasn't broadcasted as much,
Gotcha.
you know?
And you kind of you kind of helped me segue into my next question. If you had today's technology when you played, will it help your game when you was
I've,
playing?
I've thought about that a lot. Whenever I was at Louisiana Tech, this stuff started coming into play. We had a guy there named Dr. Zamansky. He's awesome. I mean, awesome, way ahead of his time. And we were doing things like, the metrics and all of this and all of that. And I can see where, yes, I think it would have helped to some degree, but also fall back and say, man, I don't know. I don't know, because there's a lot of gimmicks out there. There's a lot of things out there that are great, and there's a lot of things that aren't. I think if you know yourself as a player and find what works for you, great. But it's not for everybody. So to answer your question, do I think that it would have made me better? Yeah, to a degree. It might have made my swing a little quicker. It might have made my first step a little faster. But at the end of the day, I really don't know how it would have helped like the dog.
Yeah, I got you. How do you get your how do you get your group of guys to bond? As in, what are team bonding you do throughout the year?
Yeah, we try to do a lot of competitions and things that we do. And this is something that I have to get better at. It's just we didn't quite get there this year just simply because we were trying to establish other things first. I think we will get there. But man, if I had any suggestions, I would say have you guys compete all the time. Whether it be running, lifting, hitting, throwing, locker room camaraderie, and get out in the community and help. I think serving others, which our guys do a great job of that. There a lot of them are really involved in the church and things like that. But what I want to do better going forward is get into the community and serve others. I think if you serve others, it's good for the soul.
Hmm.
In a selfish way.
Oh,
Um, yeah, so that's what I would suggest doing for sure.
what's some of the things you enjoy about high school baseball?
Uh, Now I enjoy the kids. Um, the main thing that I enjoy about this is, especially coming into this place. Now, I've been places where kids think that they know everything, but I'll be specific to here. Every kid that's come through here, for the most part, has been a blank canvas, has been willing and wanting to learn and get better. And the group that we have, I told them this not too long ago, is probably one of the hardest working groups I've been a part of at the high school level. So I really enjoy that. I really enjoy when I sit down and talk to them. They're all ears. Um, their personalities, and then at the end of the day, competing, you can't. The game's fast. You have to be on your toes. I love all those things.
I don't know if you can see this, but you have a few comments. Stuart Miller, excited to see what Coach Ford does with the program. And Cole Downey, good stuff, Coach. Looking forward to watching you and your guys build the eat back up.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cole, Cole's, I've known Cole for a long time too. He's good. He's good at what he does.
Uh, Coach, what's a moment from your coaching career that still sticks with you to this day?
Hmm. I would say a specific moment. I thoroughly enjoy watching the kids have success. What I really like is if we sit there and we work on something over and over and over and over, and the kid struggles, and then all of a sudden it comes together, and you have that moment with that kid of like, we did it. You know, those moments to me mean more than anything. uh, the smile on a kid's face when he finally hits a ball backside that we've been working on. Smile on the kid's face where he lays down a bunt or hits one off the, just all those things. You can't replace it.
So you played at the Division One level. What's one few biggest mistakes high school players make when they try to get noticed by a college coach?
I think they have unrealistic views on themselves a lot of the time. They don't know what it takes to actually play at that level, or the amount of work. Once you get to that level, everybody's just as good.
Hmm.
I was fortunate enough to be able to play at that level. But when I got there, I looked around and I was like, man, these guys are good. How am I going to get on the field, right? You see so many kids make it to that level and not stay at that level just simply because they don't know the value of outworking somebody. Um, they I think a lot of the time that they focus more on the physical aspect of the game instead of the mental aspect of the game. And I'm not saying just the game in general, the mental side of just being mentally tough and being able to sit there and go, okay, if I'm not good enough right now, what do I have to do to get good enough? Uh,
And how do we teach that or instill that into
it
a
starts
kid?
at home. It starts at home. It starts at home. It starts at home with holding your son accountable and not hyping him up to be something that he's not. You have to keep a kid humble. And I'm not saying degrade them or anything like that. Like I tell
Hmm.
my kid all the time, who's 6, I don't care what happens as long as you work hard, right? If you miss a ball, I don't care. How are you going to act afterwards? I think it all starts at home with letting your child know that yes, you may be good, but you got to keep working, man. You got to keep going. You got to keep going. And then I think, the travel ball stuff's probably to blame for some of it too. Carry 10 kids. They all play. If you don't like where you're playing, you go somewhere else. Then you get to high school and you're not playing. And then all of a sudden the world's ending, instead of strapping your boots up and going to work.
That's just like that's just like what Coach G said a couple weeks back. I had him on. He said college is the same way. The transfer portal, all it
Yeah.
is basically travel ball.
Yep.
You didn't like the team you was on, or you didn't like the coach, or your playing time. Well, I'm gonna go find another team. That's
Yep.
basically what this ball boils down to nowadays.
Does. And it's sad because it sets them up for failure later in life. You know?
So, what's your approach when a kid is doing everything right off the field but struggling on the field? I ask this question to everybody.
Yeah.
I like it because
It's a good.
it's
Yeah.
a different. I get a different answer every time.
Yeah. No, I actually thought about this question too. I'm glad you asked. So if they're doing everything right off of the field, but not doing everything right on the field, do you mean by their performance on the field?
Yeah, just struggling. They in a slump. They 0 for 75, and they still trying.
Okay. Well, I think you have a lot of kids that do everything right, but just won't. You have a lot of kids that do things right and still won't be on the field. And that's just life. You have a lot of kids that do things right and they do go through those struggles. Man, my biggest thing is there's no such thing as a slump. If you sit there and say, I don't care if you're 0 for 20 or 20 for 20, you have to have the same mindset. And I always tell kids the easiest way out of a slump is to swing the bat, right? Mm-hmm. Or if a guy can't find the strike zone on the field, what can I do? And a lot of the times if the kid's on the field, he has it physically. So it's got to be some type of mental hang up.
Yeah.
Right? Are we picking around the plate? Are we going right after guys? Are we confident? Are we not confident? I think you dive into the mental side of things and you can kind of figure out what a kid's thinking. And then hopefully by a little reverse psychology or something, we're more counselors than anything most of the time. Mm-hmm. Try to walk them through that process, And sometimes a kid just needs a break. Sometimes a kid just needs, hey man, look, take the pressure away, sit down for a day or two, and we'll get back after this.
Coach, I think this is the first time I ever met you. I had never met you before, and I could tell you do it the right way. Every answer just about it was my kids this, my kids that. So you got the kids you got the kids on your mind all the time, and I just want to applaud you for that because I'm not saying everybody else doesn't do it, but just like you're in it for the right reasons. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you.
I appreciate that. I hope I am, and as coaches, we're going to make mistakes, but if we keep the overall goal and the kids at the focus, then we're going to do all right.
Yeah. Coach, before I let you go, any advice for younger coaches trying to get in the game?
And just stick with it. You see so many guys that come in and they just don't stick with it. And have a conversation with yourself and the good Lord. If you'll know deep down inside, there's just a burning desire. I'm sure you have it, like this is what you're meant to do. If you have that, just keep pushing forward. Because at some point, you'll get the break that you want. It's like with anything. Again, the hard work, the dedication, the discipline, the accountability. If you do those things as a coach, then you'll get to where you want to get. I've seen guys come in that aren't great at the X's and O's, but they did not give up, right? And then they learn those things. And then they continue to just get better. Don't stop learning. Don't stop learning. Once you stop learning, you put yourself in a box.
Yeah. Well, Coach, I think that's it for the time tonight. Like I said, Thanks again for coming on. I really appreciate it. It was a very insightful and enjoyable interview with you tonight.
I appreciate you, Blaine. I enjoyed it, man. I hope y'all have a good year. I hope your shoulder feels better. And if you need anything, just holler at me.
I appreciate it. For y'all that tune in, thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure y'all follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Give us a like, a share, comment. Just we're trying to shine light on all the high school coaches in Louisiana and just the programs. Just we don't have one like this, so I'm trying to get it out. Thanks again. See y'all next time.